Definitely my pick so far. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rubber City Reviews. This is Season 2, Episode 1. We made it. We are again live from the beautiful It looks like they're celebrating the 30th of something. I'm 30, so happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, Nick.
That's good. It happened in April, but I'm still riding along with it. But yeah, Season 2, Episode 1. We got a lot of fun stuff planned for you guys this year. A lot of cool, breakdowns, diving into some good movies. And to kick off this episode, it's going to be mainly about some movies that came out recently and then leading up to Oscar season, because that's kind of the big, that's what's big right now is the Oscars. So
yeah.
Unfortunately, I've only seen like 3 of them. I know, shame. Chris has, of course, seen everything. Jesse's seen a lot. Actually, this year, I'm really proud.
Yeah, I'm seeing 6 out of the 9. So.
Ooh. Yeah, so...
Or 5 out of the 9.
Bazinga!
I have rookie numbers. I gotta pump those up. So, I think to start, there are some movies that came out this year that I really wanted to... Not this year, but recently that I really wanted to talk about and get into. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce myself for you guys who don't know. My name is Nick Mancuso from Does It Suck Reviews. Also Made to Motivate podcast every Tuesday. You should subscribe, link in the description. Check it out. To my left is Jesse Unk.
What's going on?
He is from Akron, Ohio.
We just grew up together. He doesn't know where I'm from.
He's also on the podcast.
He's also on the podcast. He is the co-host.
I'm the co-host.
If you listen, you know that joke. But he also has a really good sports page that he does on Hub Pages, where he really dives into some sports topics.
Very much.
About how Lamar Jackson is trash.
Lamar Jackson sucks and Michael Jordan's overrated. And if you disagree, you can read it and find out.
His writing's really evolved over the last few years. I'm really proud to see him, continue with his writing. It's really good. And Jesse's always been really good at writing. So it's good to see him get back into that. And then, of course, to my far left is Chris Kessinger from thefilmfreak.com. Film Freak on Facebook. Go check that out. Really good reviews on every single movie that comes out.
Thanks, Nick.
So this is the panel. We also have some great guests in the audience. Give yourselves a round of applause out there. Let's get into it. I think the first movie that we're going to talk about, and just a warning for everybody who's watching, these are going to be full spoiler reviews. So if you're not into that, just pause it and come back later after you've seen them. But we would like to have a full spoiler discussion so we can talk about it. And these films have been out for a while.
You've had time by now.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
We're not going to talk about anything that just came out. So I think the first one we're going to talk about is Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
Ooh, interesting.
Just a few questions about this. Was it a good film to end the saga? Just thoughts on, the Disney portion of the Star Wars saga and like thoughts overall. So, Chris, we'll start with you. Like, what did you think of Rise of Skywalker and how it fits in with the, overall saga of the movies?
When I look at the new trilogy, if you will, the Kathleen Kennedy trilogy, to me, I just see no one behind the wheel. I see there might have been a vision at the very start of it, but it got so clouded and so incoherent by the end of it that it didn't feel like one cohesive unit. For me, The Last Jedi, which I didn't hate like everybody, a lot of people did. I didn't hate The Last Jedi. I thought it was a beautifully shot film, a lot of great imagery. But I think it seems like they're trying to blame that as like the, they're casting the blame on that as the thing that changed it all, and I just don't agree with it. It doesn't seem like to me that they had an end game. It doesn't seem like they knew where they were taking this, unlike the Mandalorian
or like the Avengers, who actually had an end game.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, I feel like that's a good point. I mean, when I watch those movies, I have fun with them, right? Like they're visually pretty good, although I did have my issues with Rise of Skywalker. And I think Jesse and I had talked before about Star Wars being such an amazing story. And watching the last 3 films, it just feels like they didn't do anything with all that source material that they had.
Is there a lack of heft for you, like as far as emphasis that this is the last chapter? Yeah,
I just felt like it should have led up to like a culmination of something. And like after I watch The Rise of Skywalker, I still have so many questions. And I feel like after I watch that movie, I shouldn't have that many questions. Like, it's okay to leave some things open-ended and like some things to leave for the audience to like discover on their own, because that's fun, you know? There's a lot of lore there. But there are some things that we needed definite answers on that we just never got. And I don't know if it's because of a lack of cohesive direction because of the different directors, or just lack of, communication between the writers and the studio with what they wanted to put out. Jesse, what are your thoughts on how it all came together and what we ended up getting?
Well, the reason that I started laughing when you said they didn't have an end game was because this movie was Endgame. They literally ripped off the entire ending from Endgame all the way to the point of like, oh my God, it's so bad. Like,
give us some examples.
Like, okay, so you have the I am, Iron Man, snap and save the day type of thing. Completely ripped that off with Rey right at the end. And then you've got the fact that you've got the giant culmination of the battle at the end where everybody comes into play. They literally had the on your left instance from Endgame where, Cap's facing his demise and you hear in the little microphone, hey, Cap, on your left, and all the heroes show up. Yeah. And I don't remember the exact wording now because I, unlike you, hated this movie, so I haven't watched it again. But I mean, everything pretty much seems like it's done. Palpatine's won, and everybody's going to get destroyed. Everybody's getting blown up, and then something is said like, "Oh, we made it," or "We're here," or "May the Force be with you," or whatever tagline it was, and then everybody comes in out of hyperspace, and it's the same thing as them coming through like the sling ring Doctor Strange moments. It's a complete ripoff. I hated it. Like,
that's interesting. I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, and it was
I
just,
didn't either. Yeah,
I thought that he did the best that he could with it, but when it came down to taking everything that they had changed in the second one, just go with it and fix. The story has changed. You've got to go. You can't go back and retcon and fix everything that's been undone and try to have a good story.
That's what I say. Because how many trilogies are directed by the same director in all 3 movies? Right. Like, how many, honestly?
I thought that the way that they should have ended it, it's not even really a Rise of Skywalker. Like at the end when she says she takes on...
Are you going to say what you think how the movie should have ended?
Yes, this is how the movie should have ended.
Fantastic. So I've already... Oh my God, I'm so ready.
Yeah, I like this too.
So knowing that, at this point you've got this pull to the dark side for Rey, you've got this pull to the light side for Ben, and this is this conflicting thing that's been going on. There were all of these speculations that, maybe they would be, come the Greys, which if people have read the books, that's like they kind of use the Force from the good side and from the Sith side. But they ended up just kind of going with the, cliche. She ends up becoming good after all. She beats the ultimate evil. She's Palpatine's daughter or granddaughter. It's one or the other. Granddaughter. Yeah. And then she takes Skywalker's names and they're like, oh, that's the Rise of the Skywalker. What they should have done, though, was I would have loved to have seen Rey, this person that you've been rooting for these 2 movies, you've built a relationship with. She's the ultimate hero. She's so powerful. She's going to win it. End up turning and becoming a Sith and having that become
Crossroads,
how everything ends. And on the same end, a true Rise of Skywalker would to see Ben end up having that light pull him back, realizing what he's done was wrong, and then having a final clash between the 2. And then it's just like, oh my God, this person that I've grown to love, this female character that we've come to, she's Han Solo's basically daughter now that, she's gone
just
through all
rip
of
it
this
from you.
stuff, and then they just take it from you.
I feel like
And you see, that's like, it kind of goes with the total swing of Star Wars too. Like you have if you've never seen the movies, in the first 3, you realize, holy crap, Anakin's, he's gone evil.
Yeah.
And if you, originally when it first came out, you have the I am your father moment, and there's nothing like that in these trilogies. That could have been the twist moment of Star Wars for the final chapter. It would have been fulfilling. It would have been amazing. And then you wouldn't have had to have ruined anything by going back on what you've already changed. You could have continued with the story, even though that wasn't the plan, and it would have been incredible.
It's fantastic. I love that so much.
Yeah, why didn't I get that movie?
I know. And the only twist that this trilogy really had was just that Kylo Ren was, Han Solo's son.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that really...
But you learned that in the first movie. So
in
it's,
the first movie, right.
It's almost
there's no build. There's no, something that, flies in out of nowhere that catches you off guard.
Yeah.
Like that.
Speaking of which...
So that's the Millennium Falcon. And did you ever notice, that is so impressive.
That was actually pretty good.
Did you ever notice that in the movies, the pronunciation of Falcon is so different, but
Falcon.
But it depends on the origin of the actor where they're from, because British is Falcon, and I guess that's why John Boyega and other British actors say it that way. But it always bothered me that there's just no continuity with that word.
Yeah.
And they
it's just nitpicky, old stupid stuff.
Old man contribution.
Yeah.
Sure.
One, the Falcon. That's the only ship that survives all 9 movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's a little known fact. It's in the Phantom Menace for about 10 seconds. It's taken off from Mos Eisley, and in the background when Anakin and Qui-Gon Jinn are having a conversation. And that's the scene that George Lucas confirmed is the time frame for when the Han Solo prequel is taking place.
Oh, okay.
So then the Falcon is basically the main ship of the whole entire...
It's the main protagonist, if you will.
It's the main ship of the saga.
Yeah.
And it's involved in everything when you think of it, right?
Yeah.
So my rebuttal to Jesse, okay? I honestly, and this is an old man take, right? And I have always looked at this entire series as it is what it is. When it was originally designed, I don't think they had the full scope of what they were making. I know that George Lucas created this universe, but at the same time, we're seeing a small little snapshot, just like any other ones that you pick. If you look at Lord of the Rings, if you look at all those big blockbuster trilogies. So we're seeing this whole different world. Same with Avengers. I mean, look at you guys. You're all MCU this and MC4 and phase this, and there's universes all over the place, and we're about to do all this. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes, I do.
But that's my whole point. That's my whole point. We're seeing a snapshot. So this is not it's like The Sopranos. This isn't the end. This is where it ends for us right now.
Absolutely. But to counterpoint you,
Okay.
I would just say you have this universe that you've created, and I do agree with you. I don't think that they started this with the intentions of it becoming what it is, because there's no way that you can foresee this type of success. It's the greatest movie franchise of all time.
Yeah.
But with that, you have now created a set of movies that are so dear to people. And I'm not a diehard Star Wars nerd. I see all the movies. I've played a couple of games. I've never read a book. I've never done the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you the races of all the aliens, any of that. But you have these set rules that you've put into place, and this universe is a real thing. And I don't think just because something is moving and breathing and can have change, that you should be able to throw a change in whenever you want for the sake of fixing something that's been messed up. So up to this point, for instance, we see a lot of force healing in this, and that's something that they've put into, the Mandalorian series, which we can talk about in a moment. But force healing is just this thing that has become this easy,
It's a
hey,
plot
by the
device.
way, let me just heal you real quick, and it fixes something. It lets you have a fake out death, so you can go, oh my God, they killed this person. Oh wait, no, they didn't.
It's just a MacGuffin that they don't need in the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just...
But then that also counterpoints the whole entire fall of Vader, which the entire premise of him becoming Vader in the third movie was his wife was going to die, and he didn't know how to save her. And so the Sith promised to teach him how to heal people and do all of this stuff if he joined them. If we could just do it willy-nilly without any training or anything else, and we can just be one with the Force and heal people, well, then that takes away the entire streamline of this entire series.
Yeah, let's bring everybody back. Let's bring Darth Maul back.
And I won't get all into it, but the fake out deaths in this movie, there were like 6 of them. It was ridiculous. I hated that.
That was the most confusing thing for my kids, was the return of actual Palpatine. We were all like, what the hell?
Because he blew up.
Yeah, he actually blew up in the shaft.
And then he would turn into Ghost in the Shell.
Right.
That's the one question nobody can answer for me. That, and who was his, I'm going to get a little graphic here, who was his sex slave, basically, because Rey's his granddaughter. Who did he sleep with?
Right.
And it's funny because I had a...
Palpatine has the sex.
I had an online argument with somebody about that.
Oh, God.
And it's funny, right? Because you brought up an interesting point, and this will segue us into the Mandalorian. Baby Yoda. So we don't know. We're all the time frame of the Mandalorian. We assume is after this Star Wars. We assume.
I do think that they put it out. It's
in between New Hope.
I believe it. I thought it was after The Last Jedi, but before the Rise or The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle.
It's in the middle.
Yeah.
All right, because the Empire keeps getting defeated and then they return. They get defeated and then they return. Right. Okay. Point being,
which allegedly the next season is supposed to answer some of those questions, which I think is just silly.
Twitter exploded, and we all just immediately started calling this creature Baby Yoda.
Right.
When in actuality, we don't know what the hell the name of the race is.
Right.
So that was our natural assumption, right?
Yeah. Right.
But like you said, there's thousands of races that we could.
It's just an easy hashtagable name
exactly
to sell toys and Build-A-Bears.
Right.
So
Build-A-Bears.
I told you, man. You can have, if you're going in line, you can take one of my kids. And I'll push you to the front.
I'm going.
I'm just telling you.
There's not a doubt in my mind.
I'll give you whatever kid you want. I'll give you one, and that way you'll get privilege. All right. Rather than this creepy 30-year-old sitting there by himself in line.
Local talk host runs over 6 children.
I stood in line for toys before.
I'll give you a kid.
But yeah, it's continue on that conversation. Looking online, like you said, there's a lot of conversation about Star Wars whenever you go deep dive into those threads and conversations. And I've always said that Star Wars fans are the most toxic fan base that I've ever seen,
along with the New England Patriots fans. And
I don't mean that in a sense of they're ignorant or they're they're just It's just hard to explain what I'm actually talking about, but if I say that,
it's their fault.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, they get a movie every year, pretty much, okay, and then they're never happy with it, no matter what happens. Even if they satisfy all preconceived conditions, they're never happy with it whatsoever. Right. And I understand what you mean.
It reminds me of DC versus Marvel fans when it comes to movies. They can't appreciate them both.
Yeah,
they don't understand that good movies on both sides is good for both of them.
Right.
And they can't appreciate just a good movie. And even if, these Star Wars movies aren't that great, or even if they aren't the best, they aren't terrible.
Yeah, they're not terrible.
Did you see all the Disney stuff when it was opening this past couple weeks?
Yeah.
The behavior of people?
Yeah, the Rise of the Resistance rides?
They were waiting in line at 2 a.m, and then the doors open, and it was almost like a Black Friday, Target trampling scene.
Yeah.
It's just impossible to have intelligent conversations about the movies with those guys because they already have formed opinions about it.
Right.
Well, you didn't read chapter 27 of the book.
Right, and there's so much canon involved. It's hard for me to understand that I have to read comics, I have to read books, I have to watch the shows in order to understand a movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And they should be their own storylines that tie into those, like the Marvel Universe.
And Disney should know that because they do that with the Marvel Universe. And they were able to make, I would assume that Daredevil and Punisher and all of that is canon, but you don't need to watch any of those Netflix shows. You don't need to watch any of this stuff in order to watch the movie. And they're saying that there's rumors that those new shows coming out are going to be like that. But I guarantee you it'll be Easter egg type stuff. If you don't watch WandaVision or whatever else comes out, I bet you're not going to have to watch any of that before you go into, Fantastic Four, whatever they end up coming up with.
I hope it doesn't tie in because that's ridiculous.
And to me, that just circles back to like the head of whoever's running, like whether it be Kathleen Kennedy or whether it be, somebody else. They don't really have, like Chris said, a vision that they're trying to implement. And then whenever you try to make a series, it really shows because there's a lot of cracks. So I know I can talk about what I didn't like about Rise of Skywalker forever, but I don't want to. So we've already kind of picked it apart.
Take a positive spin of Star Wars.
I think at the end of the day, if I had to rank it or give it a score, I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10.
That was me.
I also gave it a 6.
I think that like it's serviceable. I had a good time. Some of the visuals really bothered me. I didn't enjoy the last lightsaber fight with Kylo, and I just thought that I didn't feel anything at that point.
Yeah.
And also John Williams' score was atrocious at the end of that.
Yeah, I know. I remember you had a big problem with that score.
It just hit like really hard, and it didn't give the fight enough time to breathe.
Too boisterous.
And for John Williams, I just thought it was a misstep, and it was odd because he is a master.
Yeah.
This is his last one, though. He's just like, nah.
I know, but that fight at the end was supposed to be like they finally get to fight each other, and they're figuring stuff out through they've talked to each other. I mean, it was, for me, I didn't feel anything whenever they finally met.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear, like, it would be nice if the music just stopped and we heard just the waves crashing.
Yeah.
And just the sounds of the lightsabers hitting.
And their emotions.
And then
those
just going
grunts.
like them breathing.
Yeah.
Because you have to feel something. And I just felt orchestra.
That's a very good call. Yeah, that's an interesting point.
And usually music's my favorite part of the movie.
Right.
Easily. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that. But for me to like say John Williams ruined that scene, that's a huge deal for me. So I don't know.
Which is crazy because usually it's like you get those first 3 movies like episode 1, 2, and 3, which are terrible. Episode 1 is one of my least favorite. Period. The music's pretty damn good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like I said, we could talk about Star Wars forever, but I don't want it to be a Star Wars hate party. But we can, to finish off that, I know we touched on Mandalorian a little bit. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the series as a whole. Should it have been called the Baby Yoda saga? And then was it what you expected when you first started it? Because I know for me, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. So I watched it just because of the hype that I've heard about it, and I loved every single episode, except for maybe 1 or 2 that I felt like filler episodes. But I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts about what you thought of the episode overall, and then was it what you expected, or what do you expect going forward?
Well, what's great about this show is it attains success for everything that the Star Wars movies aren't. So this is basically a Western setting, if you look at it. Western kind of samurai style of storytelling. It's set basically a one-man show. I mean, it has, different supporting characters, but this all comes around the Mandalorian himself, played by Pedro Pascal. Outstandingly, might I add.
Good job.
What's so great about his performance is that he doesn't have the facial registry to relate to his audience. Everything he does has to be physical. Has to be physical acting. The way he turns his helmet slowly, the way his body reacts to certain elements outside of him. I loved this show. There was 2 down episodes between 4 and 5 that I thought were kind of weakly acted, as well as it was all filler. And I understand you need that to get to 6, 7, and 8, but it was almost too much filler for me, too much fan service. Yeah,
that was my biggest problem with it. Like you said, acting was great. Visuals were great. If you're a Star Wars fan, you will love this show.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But if you're not a super hardcore fan like me, and you go into movies and shows really wanting a story, really wanting some depth to it, there's not a lot of answers to anything. We never found out really anything about Baby Yoda, even though all this speculation happened. Mm-hmm. We really didn't learn a terrible amount even about the Mandalorian outside of a couple of his values and a little bit of his background, but we never really dove really deeply into that. The 2 filler episodes that you're talking about, it's a perfect way to call it. They threw them in, and I remember messaging you both and kind of being like, I hope the show just doesn't become, hey, let's go fight some people on this planet. Hey, let's go fight some people on this planet, because there wasn't much of a story developing. I guess Star Wars fans went insane in the last episode whenever he pulled out like a black lightsaber, and I guess that means a lot of stuff. I don't personally know. I don't really want to Google it a lot because I don't want to ruin it for myself. But I just felt like there wasn't a ton of story there. Love the show, super entertaining. Gonna watch it as soon as season 2 comes out. I'll turn it on the first day. But I really hope that they dive deeper into like a character aspect of it, more so than just this is a badass protecting a kid running away from this unknown meth dealer.
Would you be cool with a prequel episode like they do in most shows where they go back in time to show you more of the character elements?
I don't think so. I think I just want it to continue on how it's going. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to do anything cheap and easy. Mm-hmm. Disney knows what they're doing. They took the Marvel Universe and over a span of 10 years came up with a perfect story. There were a couple bumps along the road with some of the movies not being great, but there's nothing that you really look back other than, minor details that really makes you go, oh crap, they messed this up. Well, what about in this movie that blah, blah, blah. So they know how to do this. It's just, I feel like they're trying to capitalize and said, hey, we've got this Star Wars franchise now. Let's make some money. Work on your craft, Disney. Make it perfect like you do with almost everything else that you touch, and don't ruin a beloved saga. Mandalorian, I'd give an 8 out of 10. It would have been perfect if there was a little bit more to the story itself and the characters.
I got 3 things real quick. One, you're 100% right. His acting is all with his body, and it's almost like he's always cussing without cussing.
Yeah.
He's always like, oh,
that's a good point.
He's always sighing. It's always, God dang it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the time. Because there's always like, oh, shit, I got to go do this, really. And then the other one, the scene when he escapes from prison is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the best Star Wars battle scenes we've ever seen.
I agree.
Yeah. The action's incredible.
Oh, my God.
The droids
that are in there?
Well,
it's just where he gets turned into the legit, like, this guy's a badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He takes out the whole ship and the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
And it's all done in that, like, alien predator kind of motif in space where, like, the stuff goes dark and then he's closer and then it goes dark again and then he's on you, So that was awesome. And then the third thing is the unsung hero of this whole thing is the assassin I am droid. Mm-hmm. The tall, skinny, silver droid.
Yeah.
He's throughout the whole thing.
I think he's voiced by Taika Waititi.
Is he?
Okay. Taika directed the last episode, so yeah.
Yeah, and then he ends up sacrificing himself to spring him free at the very end.
And Taika's in talks to direct the next Star Wars movie.
Okay, that's
boy.
That's my takes.
After he's done with Thor: Love and Thunder. So, I mean,
that's gonna be incredible.
I think I would give it an 8.5, leaning towards a 9, because I was there every Friday, ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the sign of a really good show. If it pulls me back in, even though if I had some problems with it, I didn't mind it being a different adventure every episode, just because I thought that was the nature of a Mandalorian, because he never knows what he's going to do next.
That's true.
So I thought that it kind of portrayed that as a story. I can see how that's an issue, because it is kind of all over the place. But I thought for me, it didn't take away anything. But I am excited to see the next season, to see where they go. But I do hope it's not just this is what we messed up in the movie, so we're going to put it here. Yeah. I really hope that's not the case.
Don't use it to Band-Aid over your movies. Just let the movies be dead and keep your show good. Right. Don't say, we're going to the Emperor's old base.
And that's why I would not want to see a prequel.
Yeah.
Just move the story forward.
That's
keep it moving forward.
I hope they keep it at 8. Even 10 episodes at the most. I wouldn't do more than that, though, a season.
No, I agree. Do we know when that drops? Have they announced that yet?
It's supposed to be spring of this year.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's also when The Boys season 2 is going to drop.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm ready for. But moving on with some of the other, moving into some of the Oscar contenders. Whenever I wrote this, the show notes and everything, I just put 1917 Oscar worthy ? Favorite moments, thoughts on movies or scenes in shows being shot as it is one shot, and thoughts on that, because I wrote this before I saw the movie. So now that I've seen the movie and that the Oscar nominations are out, it's obvious it's an Oscar contender. It has 10 nominations.
Won the Golden Globe for Best Picture.
It did. Won Best Director too.
Yep.
And then, we've all got a chance to see it. So I just kind of wanted to go over your thoughts on it real quick, because it does seem to be the Oscar darling, and the the award season darling. So like, what are your guys' thoughts on the movie? Did you like the way it was shot? And do you think it's deserving of the nominations?
I think it was a great movie. Really enjoyed it. Came out of it pretty emotional. When it came to how it was shot, this was my only gripe with the entire film. Normally I like that type of stuff. You know, the movie is shot so that it seems like the entire thing is just one continuous 2 hour, like a play. It just goes. Outside of, I think, two pretty, cheap ones where you can tell they cut the camera. Everything else goes pretty smoothly.
Blackout and the swimming underwater.
Right. That did not work for me for this movie, though. The whole entire premise of this movie is you've got these two soldiers, one of which is going to be related to somebody that they're trying to save. They find out that the Germans know about an attack that they're planning, and they have about 9 hours to get to them before the attack happens. Otherwise, they're all going to be slaughtered. It's a race against time. You're worried about making sure that you get to your brother. But the way that it's shot, it just seemed really small to me.
Condensed.
Yeah, like it seemed like it felt like it took place on a 12 square block set. It didn't feel like a real world thing to me. And there were a couple of times where I lost track of time. Like I don't feel like I wanted it to be, we've got 1 hour to get there. Holy crap, we're still 2 miles away and there's this obstacle between us or whatever. But it's just, there's a 10-minute sequence where he's with a woman and it's implied that he's there most of the night. And it's just stuff like that. It just wasn't consistent with how it was going. And I just never knew, I don't know, are we close? Are we far away? Do we have 6 hours left? Are we going to miss out on it? Are they all going to die? And the way it was shot, just that took a lot of that away from me. And it didn't make me feel as worried for that as everything else. So that was my only gripe with it, though. Everything else, I mean, it's a beautiful movie.
It's so interesting. And this is like one of the reasons why I love movies so much is because every reason that you gave, like why you don't like it,
is the reason you like it?
Is the reason I like it.
Right. It's abstract.
Because we didn't know how much time was left. So that gave me anxiety. And I was like, are they going to make it? Is he going to be there in time? When he got knocked out and he woke back up, I thought it was still the nighttime. But then the sun started to rise and you saw in his face, he's like, oh my God, it's morning. I have to go.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I know they only had like 8 or 9 hours to like get this done. So I can see how like the traveling like felt like it was all done on just like a stage or like, you know what I mean? I get that point. But I think that I never got where the time was a negative to me. I always felt that it kept me involved in it, and the one shot aspect never allowed me to escape that feeling.
Exactly.
And it made it claustrophobic to me as an audience member, like it would them actually having to deal with it.
Yeah.
But that's so interesting because that's like the best part of movies because something could affect somebody one way.
I was never panicked or worried the entire movie.
That's interesting. Yeah. Chris, what do you think?
For me, and I don't want you to shoot me after this comment, but the one negative that I had about Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk,
I'm done.
Is that is that he puts the war ahead of the people, and for me, I need a narrative where I care more about the people to care more about what's going on around it, and that was what happened in 1917. I know you kind of disagree with me. For me, I cared more about these characters than I ever did anybody in Dunkirk, and for me, kind of like what Nick said, that one shot capacity kept it from feeling like war is never ending. Like it really is. It envelops them everywhere they go. As toward Dunkirk, you had scenes on the boat. You had certain elements of breaking in between the madness and the mayhem. Here, it seems like it's never ending. They go down into a cave and there's a landmine down there and blowing everything.
That literally scared me.
Yeah.
I jumped when that happened.
And so
I never
claustrophobic
jumped.
the way it's shot too. And the fact that it doesn't bump anything, it's so smoothly. The camera work in this movie.
Camera's amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I think it's a lock for best cinematography.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think anything can match it.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have our list right here. I mean, if we go to the Irishman, I don't know. Joker, possibly.
Yeah.
Because Joker was really, really beautiful.
Some good shots, yeah.
The Lighthouse.
That's mine, baby.
It was that I think is its biggest competition.
It's definitely the biggest competition.
And it pains me that is its only nomination.
That's I told you though. I said that's a movie that
And
the
that's
Academy
another-
likes to ignore.
Kills me.
That's another reason why I think it wins too, because they're going to be like, well, we screwed them on everything else. Give them some cinematography.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that's going to be their only win.
That's going to be a really hard one to pick between that and 1917. Like, I'm going to wait until like an hour before the show. to
Going
lock
back
in.
and forth.
Yeah.
Real quick for me on 1917, I haven't seen it yet. I
Okay.
plan on taking my dad. My dad's, I think I told you guys before, my dad's a Marine Corps veteran.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You guys saw Midway.
I took him to see Midway, right? So I'll take him to see 1917 here pretty soon. You guys had mentioned before, I believe, on this show that World War I is very often overlooked.
Yes,
like
it is.
in all the movies, right? But recently, it's kind of been touched on, like with Wonder Woman, and then also with. Ironically, I watched a movie last night that I knew I'd have to watch by myself because my wife has no interest at all, and that's Tolkien. And I watched Tolkien, and I'm watching this. I'm thinking, okay, these guys are talking about 1917 tomorrow, and I'm watching. I'm paying attention to the elements that they kind of incorporated,
Yeah.
and they really focused on him, kind of having these visions of creating this ultimate universe while he's in the throes of war, laying on his back in the trenches
It was
of
his
World War
escape.
I, right?
Yeah.
So, I thought, wow, this is pretty cool because I wonder how. I can't wait to see 1917 to see how they kind of touch into that mentality.
Did you guys tear up at all or get emotional at any point in the movie?
Absolutely.
I did it twice. One, when he was crossing like a broken bridge and somebody was shooting at him.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized, he's like, oh God, I have to shoot back. Like you could tell, like he was, I get that he was like a soldier, to me, he felt like a soldier that didn't really want to fight.
Yeah.
And he was forced into this position. And every time he'd come back and reload and he'd breathe like he did, like he was like, like it really got me for some reason. Then the other one, which was awkward or weird, was whenever he was running at the last scene.
Yeah.
And he was just running like
Part got me
I've
too.
seen that in the trailers, right?
The
I
score
knew it
is
was
perfect
coming.
there,
oh
though.
Oh my gosh,
Dude, it elevates just at the right time and it slowly
Through the
fades
whole
up.
movie.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. For me, the wood scene with all the soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
That to me, that there's that song that's playing in the background, and you can just feel the echo of so many men who don't want to be there.
Right.
Against their will.
And as the camera like tracks around and goes through each and every one of them, you can tell they've just been through it.
And that's great storytelling because it's same with the set design too. You don't see what happened, what scattered a horse over here or a head over there. You're taking in the visuals as they are, the soldiers are. So I think that's beautiful. I think it's great.
And that's where I think the one shot really does tell a story itself. Like the camera's a character.
Yeah.
Like you said, like whenever they're passing through and like those horses are on the ground or like fall into the trench and he goes to get up and his hand just goes through someone's chest.
Yeah.
It's just like.
So now you know how long it's been laying there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your
It's
hand's
just-
already cut. Like as soon as all that happened, I was like, dude, that hand is getting amputated later.
Yeah.
Like so much crap happened to that hand. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
And like it to me, whenever they were filming it and he's like unrolling that bread that he's eating, I'm like, how many takes did he have to, like, is he just eating bread the whole, like, it was just like, I was thinking in my head, like, the first 10 minutes about the technical aspect of it, and then I forgot.
Yeah.
And I think that was really cool, too, because I thought that during the whole movie, I would just be thinking about it, like, how'd they get that shot? And there were parts of it, like, whenever the camera swooped down into the water, I'm like, how did they do that? But then other than that, it was just seamless to me.
What I told Jesse when he brought that complaint to me was, I said, what I almost wish they did, and I understand why they didn't because of marketing, but I almost wish they didn't advertise that it was one shot. I wish you almost found it out for yourself. Like you're watching the movie and you go, wait, holy shit, we haven't cut once.
They didn't advertise Birdman as one shot.
And it was amazing.
And it was such a, like, mind-blowing experience when I first saw it.
Yeah, how fluid it is.
We have an audience comment.
Cool.
Online audience.
I love
it
that.
says, Joe said that scene where he's running across the charging soldiers, he knocks a guy unconscious.
Yeah, so he was running and he hits like one of the extras as they're running, and it wasn't planned, so the guy just ends up laying there.
But that's perfect,
You
though.
said that he wasn't supposed to hit anybody, right?
He wasn't supposed to hit anybody.
All of that was accidental.
So everything that happened was excellent, and they only had
Fatality.
they only had 4 takes to do the running scene because of the charges and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was like take 2 or 3 or something. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos about this movie because it intrigued me so much. About like they walk the fields for about 3 months and did actual like theater blocking for like what they were going to do, and then they dug the trenches. So they already knew like the course that they were going to do, and they had a truck drive alongside the trenches. Then the camera would be lifted up, then put on the truck, and then put on a crane, then on somebody on a dirt bike. It was just like
That's crazy.
it's
so
crazy.
impressive. Yeah.
Do you know how many cuts are actually in it?
I don't. If I had to guess, I would say maybe like 7 or 8.
Okay. I was thinking around 6, so
I've watched it twice now, and I've found 5. I haven't quite gotten to 6 yet, but I've found 5 for sure.
Yeah.
there's 2 easy ones when he goes in the water and then when he gets knocked out, obviously.
Which I think they should have just used a time eclipsing shot, like just, show the sun going down, then rising back up. That would keep with the consistency of the one shot narrative.
Well,
Right.
So how does that work? Does that mean that they literally filmed the movie in a week?
They filmed it like over a month.
Yeah.
So they just
But it was a quick movie, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
yeah, because the scenes that they would film would be 8-9 minutes long, the takes. So I mean, they had to film them 3 or 4 times because something wasn't right, or
Cloud consistency.
and they used natural light, so
Yeah.
the lighting of the sky had to be right. So and then just the matter of piecing them all together. That's where their cuts take place. So
Yeah.
we're probably underestimating it. It's probably more in the range of like 15 to 20.
Yeah.
It's just the editing is just so clean.
Speaking of the light, the scene in the ruins with the flares,
Oh.
like, dude, when you told me that they did all of that on a mini scale first,
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
that scene is incredible.
Roger Deakins is probably one of the best cinematographers of our time.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably no other that I can think of right now, and that says a lot. So they built there's a scene where they're running through ruins of like a church or just a city, big tall stone structures, and there's flares going up because it's at nighttime. So there's these huge shadows happening. So what they did basically before is they made the entire set on a table like this size, and they built all of the buildings, and they put like wires above it, and they ran the flares across so they knew where the shadows would take place, so that way they knew exactly where to place the cameras.
Yeah.
And they built like a giant, like 6-story structure that just emitted like orange ember light, and it lit the whole stage. And then the flares, they just actually like lit flares on wires.
I love it. That's like an homage to the Tinseltown age of cinema, how they used to have to build sets for everything.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it's like hardly any of it was CGI. I mean, when he jumps into the river, that was CGI, but him being in the river wasn't. So, I mean, it brings me back to like how Christopher Nolan shoots his movies, like as practical as possible.
Oh, I see what you did there.
My boy. All right, so 1917, I gave it a 10 out of 10. It was one of my favorite movies I saw this year. I think it's deserving of every award that it would get if it's nominated for it. I'm gonna buy it the day it comes out. So
I gave it an 8 out of 10. I do not think it is Best Picture. I loved it, thought it was good, but if it gets Best Picture, I will be very disappointed. I think there are 2 or 3 movies that were better this year.
And I'll play the middleman here. I gave it a 9 out of 10. To me, I've seen 10 movies so far this year in 2020. It is easily the best film I have seen this year. Bad Boys coming a close second.
what excites me about this year's Oscars is there's easily, even though I've only seen 3 of those movies, I know of those movies. There's easily 4 or 5 in there that are deserving to be in there.
Yeah.
And I remember years where it's just like they have to put movies in there to fill, it feels like. And this year, I mean, it's stacked. So it'll be a fun Oscar season. Speaking of Oscar season, in a movie that didn't get anything really, Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
So Scott, have you gotten to see that yet?
No.
Okay. So we're going to talk the shit out of it. Is that okay?
No,
okay.
fine. Hey, I'm just a producer, bro.
Okay, that's fair.
And while you're talking, I'm going to breathe heavily into the microphone to replicate what was going on in the movie the whole time. Go ahead.
So, Uncut Gems, if the notes that I have here, they just say, Adam Sandler Oscar nomination, ? Because obviously I wrote this before the Oscars, or the nominations, and I put, is this his best, and does it live up to the hype? And then what was your favorite Adam Sandler movie? And then do you think he can be taken seriously going forward? So that's kind of where we were going with the conversation. But now that we've seen the movie and we have time to digest it, because it is an anxiety-ridden, just crazy film, what are your guys' initial thoughts of it? Or what did you guys think of as soon as you left the theater?
For me, it was a thrill ride from start to finish. What I love about the Safdie brothers as directors, and they did a film called Good Time a couple years ago, and it was one of my favorite films of the decade, easily, is they always use claustrophobia to shoot everything. You're always up close. The camera's always in the face of the person it's focused on. And what that does is it allows you no room to breathe whatsoever. You are very much enwrenched in this situation that your protagonist is in. Adam Sandler, great performance. I'll have to say, are we going to answer your questions later, or should I answer it now?
No, we can go ahead now.
Okay, this is my favorite Sandler performance, but I would say his performance in Punch Drunk Love is a close second. But yeah, he totally transforms as this guy. He's sleazy, and yet somehow Safdies make it easy to feel compassion for him. I loved this movie. What about you, Jesse?
I also loved this movie. Thought it was great. Thought it definitely should have been nominated for some stuff that it did not get nominated for. I understand why he didn't get a nomination for Best Actor. I don't think it was because his performance wasn't worthy. I think it was just the way his character was written and the dialogue that was available to him.
Almost a comedy.
It's like 60% of the movie is just him calling people, I don't know if this is a G-rated show or not, so I won't say it all. Well, it's all just like, you cocksucking motherfucker, I do this. And it's just constant yelling and berating people. So like, from that point, can you really say somebody's a great actor when there's not? I didn't think there was one scene that really stood out. Like we always talk about, Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse, how he had that monologue that was going to be for his Oscars, which they snubbed him. But there wasn't anything from Uncut Gems where I'm looking back and going, damn, that was the scene. So I understand why he didn't get it. I would have liked him to, but he wouldn't have won if he got it.
I just don't, if we look at the Best Actor nominations and we look at Leonardo DiCaprio being in there for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
I
don't know, man.
There's a couple scenes in there where he's really like emotional and like, I don't know.
There's two I'm
some
taking
in that.
out.
But
I see where you're coming from, though.
Overall, I love the movie, though. I thought it was amazing. I walked out of it. I kind of called the ending ahead of time, but it didn't bother me. A lot of people were really pissed off with how it ended. It's one thing. I'm not going to spoil that part. I don't know if you guys will, but I think so. I want people to see this movie.
I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it.
Fun question. Do you think that 1917 would be a good movie if it was directed by Sam Mendes as one shot? Uncut Gems as one shot? And then 1917 directed by the Safdie brothers?
Jesus, man, that's interesting. I want to see those films. I don't care.
Because could you imagine
I think it would have worked a lot better with Uncut Gems than it did with 1917 for me.
Yeah, I think so too, because the Safdie brothers, while I admire them a lot, they're more their scope is more limited right now in terms of the 3 films that they've directed.
Yeah.
They haven't produced a big war epic yet, so I'd have more confidence in Mendes doing that.
I would have liked Uncut Gems to just take place in the jewelry shop, and we never leave, and we see people come in and out, and just he's just overwhelmed, and he has to make calls, and people have to come, and he has to like figure out innovative ways to get stuff out and in, and like I feel like that would be a really fun.
See, I was gonna say I would have liked for it to have all taken place in one day and have all of the things that already happened happen. Just he knows today I've got to get this done. Pressure builds by like lunchtime. Yeah. You know what? Screw it. We're going all in on Kevin Garnett. You didn't need to meet him twice. Could have been one meeting and said, boom, 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 putting the money down. Let's finish this whole, tonight.
Trip to Boston that he took to go find him, it just took me out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm like, because
it's an escape.
I just feel like Adam Sandler wanted to shoot hoops at the Boston training facility.
Another vacation.
Basketball and everything, man.
To support your claim, though, that it should all take place in one day at the jewelry store, more jewelry store means more Julia Fox. So I am on board with this.
I know it's an all male panel here. But my God, Scott, when you see that movie, you message me as soon as you get out of the movie.
What?
Whenever you see Uncut Gems,
and
you tell me the first thing that you think I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm single. Leave me alone.
Can I?
I'm not.
My wife's in the audience. What are you guys talking
I
about?
saw it with my fiance, and whenever she came on screen, she nudged me. She's like, I know.
Can I watch it with the wife on Redbox?
I would put the kids to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's a very abrasive film, and if the kids come down and like see any part, I would hate for you to have to. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fantastic movie. To answer your one part, I didn't answer the one. My favorite Adam Sandler movie, it's Happy Gilmore.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So-
Can't go wrong with the classic.
I love it.
I don't like any Adam Sandler movie.
Ooh,
What?
none.
Not really.
What would this
Uncut
be?
Gems was your first that
That
you
I
enjoyed?
like. I mean, I enjoy Happy Gilmore, and I enjoy parts of Waterboy. But it just, that style of comedy just does not resonate with me.
What about his dramatic roles? Have you seen like Reign Over Me or
I've seen Punch Drunk Love,
Yeah.
and I like it. I think he really has a really good range of acting. I'd like to see more of that, but I'd like to see smarter comedy from him.
What's the one with the gumballs?
The Gumballs.
The gumballs raining. It's
Bedtime Stories.
Yeah.
my kids love that movie.
Yeah.
That's very entertaining, and it's not like abrasive Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And the kids love it.
It's funny because his career started like SNL and then Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, and then it just started going like it was like Click, Jack and Jill.
Oh, don't get me started on Jack and
And then
Jill.
it got up a little bit. They're like, Grown Ups was good, and then Grown Ups 2 comes out, and now Uncut Gems. So I'd like for him to be. You're in the heyday, man. You don't need to be funny anymore. There's more people taking that spot. Be a good actor. Get yourself an Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if his threat is real, we're going to get Grown Ups 3 because they didn't nominate him for this Oscar.
That's
So
right.
Thanks a lot, Academy.
Yeah, thank you. So those are the only two like Oscar style movies I want to talk about. Did you guys want to talk about any of the other ones that are nominated? I know you just got to see Jojo Rabbit. And
I
you
love
are
Jojo
in
Rabbit.
love with
When
it.
did you see it?
I saw it last week. My dad called me and was like, we saw it on Monday, actually. And he was like, hey, I'm going to go check this out. Me and your mom really liked it. Like, let's go see it. And I wanted to see it from the beginning, but I just hadn't found time. So I was off work that day. Jojo Rabbit is my best picture.
Ooh.
It is incredible. I love it.
Didn't Taika Waititi direct that
Yep.
too?
He plays Hitler also.
Yeah, he plays it.
And
What a year for him.
the whole movie, it's just like, it's funny, it's sweet. The kid actor is incredible. Like
Yeah.
he comes off as a kid. Like the opening scene, if you don't know, it's about this kid who he's been fed this, Nazi propaganda his entire life. He's probably like 8 to 10. I don't remember if they said exactly
It
how
takes
old he was.
place in the World War II.
It takes place during World War II, near the end of the war, because throughout the war they talk about how they're losing. But he's going to like Nazi camp because in his mind these people are heroes and Hitler's amazing and his imaginary friend is Hitler. But he doesn't know anything actually about him. So the Hitler that follows him around is like, oh, how are you?
It's
hey,
like a
we're
kid's
doing great.
imagination.
And it's perfect.
Yeah.
But like the opening scene, he's sitting there and he's so nervous to go to camp because he's like, well, like what if I'm not, enough of a Nazi? And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're a great Nazi, give me a Heil. And he's like, Heil. And he's like, that's not a Heil. Give me another Heil. He's like, Heil Hitler. And he's like, that's not a Heil. And then by the end of it, he gets himself so hyped up. He's running down the street and he's just like, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. And he's just like, but he's like a kid. He's not evil. He's not bad. Like he doesn't understand what Nazis are. And as the movie goes on and he starts to realize, what this world is like, and, he finds out that his mom is hiding a Jew, and that's the premise of the movie, is him dealing with this. And he realizes that, hey, Jews might actually be people. They're not these monsters that I've been taught to be, and then Nazis might not be the best people to be following myself with. You see Hitler's imaginary friends start to become a little bit more aggressive and mean to him also. And there's a scene in it that shocked me, made me cry.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking. Shoes. Yep.
And it's just the most, it's a love story, it's a family movie, it's a comedy, it's emotional. It is my favorite movie that I've seen so far this year and last year. I loved it.
And you don't think that the comedy ever interrupts the dramatic elements of it and vice versa?
There were a couple times where like they've got some like stupid jokes in there. Like at the beginning, he blows himself up with a grenade and it's just like shit and blows himself up. But like it just seems like a good movie at that time. Once you get into the serious parts and stuff, there's nothing that took me out of it. I believed the entire story the whole way through, even with how over the top and like, I mean, it's how do you say his name? Taika Waititi. It's his style. It's over the top, but it doesn't take you out of it.
Yeah, I like that he's kind of making his own brand of humor. Like it seems like there's nothing like a Taika Waititi film going today.
Yeah.
Can we get a GIF of Jesse doing "Hi Hitler, Hi Hitler," and just
We should
post
get
it
a
out of context?
10-second preview for anybody that hasn't seen the episode.
Local school teacher has been.
Local school teachers.
As soon as he started doing that, I'm like, oh god.
I think I did it quick enough that people aren't going to know.
Like
Somebody
whoever
clip it.
just tuned in, like right now, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh.
He was dancing.
It was great though.
And the Oscar goes to...
Yeah.
The last thing I have on the list is wanted to kind of talk about trailers and their like impact on audiences in films you haven't seen yet. Like, there's something called trailer culture where people, are obsessed with trailers. They break them down. There's a whole YouTube channel, dedicated to breaking down Marvel trailers. Like frame by frame, taking a look at, hidden Easter eggs.
Yeah.
How does this? So, I just wanted to get your take on, reactions to trailers. Do they give away too much now? Do you try to avoid them? Just your overall, because I was waiting on like pins and needles for the Tenet trailer to come out. And then now that I've seen it, I have seen it over like 100 times. I've watched it in reverse to see if that means anything, and it kind of does. And it's just like crazy to try to like.
Oh, Jesus. Right. I don't even know what to play.
So I just want to get your thoughts on the trailers for movies. Do you avoid them, or do you avoid them for certain genres, or like what are your thoughts?
I avoid one particular company, and again, you're going to throw the chair at me. I don't watch Marvel trailers for that reason. Every time I've seen a Marvel trailer, whether it's like the second one or the third one of the particular movie, I always get more revealed to me than I ever want to, like at all. Just give me the plot. I'm fine. That's all I need. I mean, you could have Spider-Man come on and tell me the plot in 10 seconds and I'd be satisfied.
Because I feel like they don't need to have trailers for their movies anymore.
No.
And I've said this to Jesse before, and I always thought it would be cool for a movie to just come out, a black poster, just the name of the film.
Yeah.
And the trailer is just the name of the film. And nobody knows anything about it. And you walk in and you just have a blank canvas. And nobody's done that yet that I can think of.
Sounds kind of movie 43-ish.
Oh, God.
That's what I was about to get to.
God, man.
I think that like
Online copy.
if you have any
That movie gives me indigestion.
Yeah, that movie's terrible. If you have a certain backing behind it, like a Marvel movie, like a Star Wars movie or something, I think you can get away with that. Or if you're a big director like Nolan, he puts out a Tenet poster and it just says Tenet, I'm going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Had Jojo Rabbit done that though, nobody's seeing that movie.
Hey, so audience question, like online in-house together. So that's the first. All right. So have any of you seen Parasite, and what do you think of it?
We're going this week.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen it. That's why I was going to go into it when Nick said, do you want to talk about any other ones? But I figured since they hadn't seen it, it wasn't going to be much fun for one guy. But Parasite is actually, I have it right here. It's who I want to win the Best Picture, but I have 1917 actually winning it.
Yeah.
I have Parasite winning Best Picture and Bong Joon-ho winning Best Director. So
whenever you fill out your ballots,
I didn't say anything about the film.
You never know. Just
everyone
gotta make sure.
dies. So how do you buy a Parasite?
Now listen, how do you want to do that? Because I think you guys could really have fun with this, with your page, and with RCR, and do this ballot thing with the public.
Yeah.
How you want to?
So I do a movie review, or not? I do a movie ballot for work every year, so I have them all printed out already. And then I assign points to each category. So like the harder the category, the more points it's worth. And then whoever has the most at the end kind of,
That's
gets
pretty cool.
a prize or something. Or we have little Oscar trophies for the office. But now that I have a place this year, I wanted to have an Oscar party. So, I mean, I feel like we could do it with the page too. I can just upload a copy of the ballots and people can download them digitally, and then
Can be part of our 92st, as it says here.
our 92nd Academy Awards. I just noticed that.
I did not write this.
What the hell? It says 90. Do you have one of these?
I do.
92st.
Who wrote it?
Pure Wow.
90
92nd?
Yeah, I was like, you mean 92nd?
92.
The writers of movie 43 present the 92nd
The 92nd Academy Awards.
Oscars 2020.
Oh,
What's
jeez.
the date?
February 9th.
9th. So it's the week after the Super Bowl?
Yes.
You want to do that? Now listen,
We can set this up. Hold on. Oh, that's my daughter's birthday. But
I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to do anything that day.
that's my daughter's.
Like,
18th
we could do
birthday.
something on the page, but we don't have to do like an event.
No, you just said let's have an Oscar party at your place.
No, I didn't. I said I'm having one.
That's my.
That's
point.
what I said.
I'm bringing my mom.
But that's my point. Wait, let's do it, man. Let's commit to it.
I'm not committing to that.
Come on, dude.
I think we should commit to it.
I think you do. You say, hey, everybody, come over. Let's hang out, watch Oscars together, and then occasionally we'll go live.
Here, I'll Google your address and let everybody know live.
Here's what I think we should do.
To be announced.
Here's what I think we should do. We should each make our picks known online, like post them online,
Yeah.
and then we can compare and contrast when it's done.
That's what
I
I was
agree.
thinking. Yeah.
Cool.
Because I do an Oscars ballot of things that I want to win, and then I do one
Me too.
that's like I think because of based on BAFTAs and based on other awards.
I'll just set up in your yard and report live from outside.
Please
do.
I'm gonna save you real quick. Going back to what we were talking about with the trailers and everything, though, I do think trailers give too much away.
Yeah.
I would like not necessarily to have no information, but if it was a perfect world, I would love for production companies, studios, whoever, to make amazing posters again.
Oh yes.
Because if you look back at the old posters, like The Thing, Jaws, Vertigo, all of these incredible posters that have, people actually hand drew them. They subliminally tell you what the story's about, but you don't really know, and it's artwork. You can put it up on your wall. Nowadays, everything is the big head, the colors that look nice. You've got some examples right in front of you.
I like minimalist posters.
That's what I'm talking about, though. That's how things used to be, and I think that would have been a perfect way for those things to translate today, so that you're not finding out things. Because people are doing crazy stuff with trailers now. Like I remember when Endgame came out, and Hawkeye's running down the tunnel with the gauntlet, and they're like brightening the image and finding out that
making it negative, and they can
and
see
finding out that the aliens are behind him from that's ridiculous.
I
Don't
watched
spoil
every
things for me.
second of those.
Gee, well, I knew you would for Tenet, that's for sure. But even you could watch Tenet.
So let me tell you something about Tenet.
Okay,
You sure?
go ahead.
Okay, so there's a part in the trailer at the end where they're like looking over the glass and there's bullet holes in it.
Yeah.
And he's like, what happened? Like Robert Pattinson says, like, what's happened here? And then Washington is like, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And the camera like cuts, and Robert Pattinson has two totally different haircuts.
Oh, buddy.
And it's like, it's from two different scenes. So I think that plays like 4 or 5 different times.
See, I appreciate that though, because like you didn't really find anything out. You found out he had different haircuts, but you
Yeah.
didn't lose anything of the story or anything.
No.
Like, that's perfect.
And if you watch the trailer in reverse,
Yeah.
it totally, like, the windmills are moving in a different direction that actually makes sense. Like,
Wait a minute. You play it backwards and the windmills are going the opposite direction?
well, yes, Jesse, because in the original trailer they're moving the wrong way, and the waves on the ships are moving like.
I saw that.
So like, if you move it in reverse, things add up that really.
I gotcha. I'm just being a dick.
And the narration says, "Give Christopher Nolan your money this July."
He can have it.
So.
Hey, I put on there that I said Jen just tuned in, and I said, hey, just so you know, Nick just invited all the 330 over to your place for the Oscars, and so she's starting to make hors d'oeuvres right now.
Oh my god!
So
Well, we're charging $5 to cover that.
Make some money, man.
So I do have a nice TV we can watch it on.
And neons.
But is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on? Did you want to go over any other Oscar picks or anything else that is on your mind you like to go over?
I still have stuff that I haven't seen from the Oscar picks. Like I've seen most of the best pictures, but like looking at Best Actress, I didn't see a single one of those movies yet. And Marriage Story is probably the only one that I will see beforehand. So it's going to be hard for me to make picks this year.
I'd like to see Scarlett take that, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that was my first thought, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little disappointed that Knives Out only got 1 nomination.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought that was going to get a Best Picture
too.
nomination. I loved Knives Out.
Yeah.
But I think that's a lock for original screenplay.
Yeah, probably.
How many? So Joker is the head nominee. How many do you think it pulls out?
I think it's going to win a lot. That's why I wore my purple and green today. Because I think it's going to pull a ton of stuff. No? You don't think?
No, I mean, that's not why you dress like that.
Didn't I yell from the audience? Didn't I tell them that I was wearing my Joker clothes? See?
She said, unfortunately.
I mean, I do think it'll pull a lot. I don't think it'll win Best Director. I think it will win Best Actor. There's a lot in here I have to look at. Best visual effects. It was really throwing me right now.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that could pull from that because it's like 1917 you could get because it's so authentic and real, and then you've got The Lion King because it looks real but none of it is, and then you've got The Irishman because they've got the de-aging crap, and then you've got
Avengers Endgame.
I took Endgame.
Endgame and Star Wars both just
I think I'm
have...
gonna pick Endgame too. At the end of the day,
That's the award that the that's the award that the Marvel studios always take.
yeah.
I think they're going to give it to Irishman, and it's not worthy.
Do you think Joaquin will slam Hollywood people again for environmental stuff?
I think he is a wild card with what he's gonna say.
The boat has been fucking rocked.
Because I think at this point, he's just not built for award season. If he can just do a movie and just phone it in and not show up, that would be his ideal situation.
Swing away, Meryl.
But he is just
It's a great movie.
just done talking about it. And like watching him do it, I'm like, I just feel like he's so emotionally fragile. Like we're just gonna lose him one day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's scary.
Probably on stage.
Like yes.
He's an awkward dude.
So are we all in for Joker on Best Original Score?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
100%.
Cool.
Oh, I missed.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, way to go, Jesse.
So yeah, I actually bought that score.
Did you?
Yeah, so-
yeah, she's awesome.
She's
man.
amazing.
I'd
She-
like to hear more.
She did Chernobyl too. So if you ever have a chance to listen to
God, really?
Chernobyl's score,
I didn't know that.
and she actually went to Chernobyl and recorded sounds from there and incorporated it into the score for the show.
I hope she's all right.
I was going to say, so she won't be with us much longer.
No, but she's good. So
Cool.
and we need more female composers and more female, people in the
Industry.
industry as far as
She's directing, right?
no, there's a different
She was directing that night.
no, it's a different composer.
Okay.
But
I thought I saw a blurb about that where a female.
there is,
Okay.
but it's just not her.
Okay.
Yeah, who did I say? Never mind.
I shared it because one of the composers, the composer for Wonder Woman, shared it. So
Dude. Wonder Woman's theme music for the 1984 music,
yeah,
so good. Every time it's just like... I love it.
yeah, that's
I lived
It's your boy.
yeah, it's my boy.
I lived it.
I was 1 year. That was 1 year before my time. So
So
You
I
guys
think
are old.
I think that's all we have for today's show. It was a good episode 1 of season 2. Again, thank you to the Rialto Theater. If you guys haven't been here, it's in downtown Kenmore. Beautiful space.
Do a voices plug.
I really don't know a lot about that,
All right.
so that's all you.
So
I don't want to butcher it.
well, Voices in the 330 is taking place here. That is, we went all palindrome with that. So it's 022220. So it's February 22nd. It'll be in the middle of the afternoon at 3 o'clock. And we're in the process of accepting the applicants. And we're going to have anywhere between 5 to 8 singers competing for the first ever Voices of Akron 330 competition.
What's the prize for that?
So we're working out the financials with Acme right now, but Acme is contributing money, so they're going to get a cash prize. In addition to that, the singer will also be given recording studio time right here at the Rialto.
Oh, cool.
So they'll be able to create a CD that will be a single.
sweet. I
basically.
can't wait to do that.
Yeah. So
If I was invisible.
yeah. So they're doing. They get a single.
Clip that as well.
And then on top of
So go
that, Royal Air Entertainment will then provide that person promotion here.
Oh, that's
locally.
cool.
Yeah, so
That is
it's
cool.
It's a good prize.
Acme should do a 30-second like supermarket sweeps thing. Like
Like-
go around.
Dude,
I can make that
if
happen.
you can make that happen, I am there.
I'm
Go for the
always-
cheeses and the meats
Yes,
first.
I can-
Jesus and the meat.
I can 100% make that happen tomorrow. Or today's Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So tomorrow's their cake show, and I'm going to be with some of the upper level executives of Acme filming their cakes.
Dude,
So
we need a supermarket sweeps type thing.
Linked
Okay.
sausages, those go for a lot. That was my show.
Credits start rolling as he's just naming off products.
Yeah, just roll the credits and just start
be
naming
great.
off meats.
Clorox bleach, you'd think it'd go
Live
for a
from the
lot, but it
Rialto,
doesn't.
Episode 1, Season 2. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll have another show announcement soon. But until then, check out my page, Does It Suck? We just got over 1,000 likes. Woo woo! Actually, over 1,100 now. It's crazy
Nice.
growing right now. So thank you all for that. Check out our podcast, Made to Motivate. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, basically anywhere you can find a
listen.
podcast. It's there every Tuesday, new episodes. My good friend Jesse Unka's on there as well. Check him out. Chris Kessinger's also on there almost every week now as a permanent guest who brings treats. He's the best. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, have a great rest of your weekend.
This podcast is a copyright of Moon Garden Media Limited.
Oh, just a lot of peanut butter.